I'm hilarious. I'm really good at what I do. I can tell you that.
What 71-year-old Bill Gilkes does is organize golf tournaments under the name Thanks Troops. By almost anyone's standards, 2 top-notch events held each year in Florida and another in New York.
It is a wonderful event.
At $175 a player, thousands of dollars in sponsorships, silent auctions, and donations, Gilkes golf tournaments bring in tens of thousands of dollars a year, an unspecified portion of which, according to his flyers, benefits veterans' charities.
He said that he was helping raise money for combat wounded veterans. So, great organization, I don't know who wouldn't, there's nobody that wouldn't support that, right?
Michael Ziegler is a golfer working closely with the Special Operations Warrior Foundation, a charity that provides college scholarships to the kids of Special Operations personnel killed in the line of duty. After participating in several of Gilkes' tournaments, the two became friends. Ziegler, a big supporter.
We've given him with trips, expenses, checks to the charity, about $17,000.
But then recently, Ziegler started hearing from some of the veterans and veterans charities that were listed as the beneficiary of Gilkes tournaments.
I had people come to me and say, watch this guy.
At first, Ziegler says he didn't want to believe anything negative. Gilkes was his friend, the Thanks Troops tournaments were popular, the charities honorable.
I was the one in the dark. I didn't know either. And then it was brought to my attention, not by 1 or 2, but by 10 or more people. So I started watching, and I'm like, something's not right here. So,
over the next few weeks, Ziegler started asking questions, contacting several of the charities listed on the Thanks Troops flyers. And what he found?
It disgusts me to the core.
Starting with the very name of Gilkes' organization, Thanks Troops. Turns out it's not a 501c3 or even a registered charity in Florida. The real Thanks Troops Foundation, which operates its own charity golf tournaments, is headquartered in Colorado. Founded by Scott Gray, who told us Gilkes is not affiliated with them, nor does he have permission to use their name. Gray says the first year Gilkes reached out to them, he donated $1,000, but they haven't seen a dime since.
He says that a portion of the proceeds goes to all these organizations, and I don't believe they are.
Calvin Markham is a director for the Special Operations Warrior Foundation. Their logo appears on Gilkes flyers as a beneficiary, but over a 3-year period, they've received a total of $1,600. Markham says when they get donations from other fundraisers of the same size,
anywhere between $5,000 and $15,000 is probably an average tournament.
The Special Operations Warrior Foundation has given Gilkes shirts, hats, and other grab bag gifts for his tournaments. Gilkes says his donations have helped countless kids get college scholarships. But Markham says, not his charity's kids.
Any amount of money we are completely grateful for. But as we all know, $1,600 would not pay for a scholarship.
We started reaching out to the other veterans charities listed on Gilkes flyers. The biggest beneficiary, Tee It Up for Troops in Minnesota, says in 2010 it received $20,500. But in the years that have followed, less than a third of that. And in 2016, it dropped to nothing, even though their name also still appeared on tournament brochures. It was worse for other veterans charities. Support the Troops, which provides care packages to soldiers overseas, says it never got more than $1,000. American Vet Dogs, $750. And Homes for the Heroes in Minneapolis says it can't confirm ever receiving any money from Gilkes.
It tells me that there's probably some funny business going on.
Critics say everything about Gilkes' flyer appears to be designed to evoke emotion and instill confidence. Names of legitimate charities, corporate logos from huge companies, sponsorships from local respected businesses like T&D Golf in Oldsmar.
I expect the products that we donate to be sold and that money's to go to the charities.
Deason Smith, who owns T&D Golf, gives thousands of dollars worth of clubs, golf balls, and bags to several veterans charities. But recently, Smith says he asked Gilkes to stop using the T&D logo,
because we don't want to be affiliated with that organization.
There's more. Gilkes' business card reads USMCR, or U.S. Marine Corps Reserves. Records show he was a reservist back in the 60s and early 70s. But at the age of 71, military members say the card should read retired. And then there's Gilkes' use of the Purple Heart on business cards, flyers, and golf tournament gifts.
That's stolen valor. Plain and simple.
Veterans like Charlie McCarthy, a retired Special Ops member who has seen dozens of his military brothers killed in action, says that hurts the most.
That Purple Heart means something to me. And it pisses me off when somebody uses it that's not authorized it.
McCarthy says he got suspicious of Gilkes when he played in several of his tournaments, more than once raising money for the same converted van to help a veteran whose leg had been amputated. And some of those rounds of golf McCarthy thought were being auctioned off for charity?
I'll tell you where it goes, it's getting sold. Because I was offered on more than one occasion an opportunity to buy a round of golf for $4 at different golf courses from him. So that's cash money that goes in his pocket.
Simple math would suggest Gilkes golf tournaments should be taking in between $30,000 and $40,000 apiece. And in years past, he's given out over $20,000. But with recent tournament beneficiaries reportedly receiving far less or nothing, it's left some wondering.
Where's the money going?
And of course, I write them a check too.
We put that question to Bill Gilkes when he agreed to sit down for an interview. Aware of the recent criticism his Thanks Troops Golf Classic was taking, he admitted he has no affiliation with the Thanks Troops Foundation. And despite the potential confidence conveyed by all those logos and names of charities on his flyers, Gilkes contends,
it's not an organization, it's a golf tournament that I run. And somebody else perceives it differently, I can't help that.
When it comes to the big corporate sponsors on his brochures, Gilkes says he got permission to use them, but has nothing in writing.
Those are all verbal, and they're all friends of mine.
Although a U.S. Marine Corps reservist several decades ago, Gilkes says once a Marine, always a Marine, so he sees no reason to indicate he's retired. As for the use of the Purple Heart, Gilkes shared a document showing his late father had earned it.
That Purple Heart belongs to me.
But you weren't wounded in combat.
Doesn't matter. That Purple Heart came to me. When my father died, the rights to that Purple Heart came to me. And I've used it with respect.
We asked the Department of Defense about it. Their most recent guidelines say using an image of the Medal of Honor or Purple Heart is permitted only in rare cases and is not permitted on social media websites for commerce or other purposes without prior authorization from the relevant military service or Institute of Heraldry. Perhaps the biggest question, though, is about the money and why several of the veterans' charities Gilkes flyers claimed would benefit from his tournaments have received little or nothing in recent years.
I'm very cautious about what I put on the brochure, and I also say a portion of the proceeds, not all of it, a portion of the proceeds goes to various charities.
Gilkes admits there aren't many proceeds left once his tournaments are over. Expenses include not only catered galas, gifts, and prizes, but his own travel expenses, phone, and cable bills.
I can't give you a percentage. I can't give you maybe 7%. Maybe 10%?
Then there's very little money left for the actual charitable organizations that are supposed to be benefiting.
You're absolutely correct.
And when we asked Gilkes about the veterans' charities whose names were still listed as beneficiaries, even though they'd asked him to remove their logos,
you know, it didn't happen, and again, complacency or forgetfulness, or I'm going to take my bad. And it is. I made a mistake. I made a mistake. And did I focus? Oh, man. This is $750 to America's vet dogs.
Gilkes did show us a folder full of receipts and canceled checks, people and organizations he had sent money to at his own discretion. Gilkes contends, as the tournament organizer,
it's my choice to present checks to any charity that I want to.
But his critics say that's misleading, or maybe worse. The Florida Department of Agriculture, which oversees such things, reached out to Gilkes a few weeks ago regarding his tournament. And the initial investigator told me then that he had found enough irregularities to pass the case along to the department's criminal investigations section. Gilkes says he's been through this with state officials before, producing a letter from 2014 excusing him from registering as a charity. Instead, he says he runs a golf classic, admittedly focused as much on producing a good show as he is the good causes he claims to support.
I keep people happy. Have they ever asked me as a person, hey, Bill, tell me, where's this money going anyway? What are you doing? No, sir.
Is it criminal? I don't know. I just don't want to see it to continue. He and people like him need to be put out of business.
With just days to go before his next tournament, Gilkes was still using the name Thanks Troops Golf Classic, soliciting sponsorships, registration fees, donations. Again, people who were once close to him say they want sponsors and the public to know about what we've shown you here and the state's investigation.
So Eric, then what's the latest on all of this? And in the meantime, what do they want him to do?
So the investigation is still taking place. We actually reached out to the Department of Agriculture, which is the agency that looks into this because of that whole licensing issue. They say they are still investigating this. The people we spoke with say they don't want him to really get in trouble. They just want him to stop. They want him out of the charity golf business because in their minds, he's undermining the credibility of other veterans charities. And they don't want people to stop supporting groups that really need it and do donate money to the charities which they say are going to get it.
Yeah, that's the big thing here. You want to make sure that the people who need it get that.
Absolutely.
We know you'll stay on top of it. Eric, thanks.